Welcome back to the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. Today's guest is, I'm very excited to welcome him. He is an alum from the Sing Off, NBC's long-missed acapella series that needs to be back ASAP. He's also a Spotify verified artist, and he also, as this recording, has 4.2 thousand YouTube subscribers and 30,000 Instagram followers. So please help me welcome Payson Lewis.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jake. It's good to be here.
It's so great to have you here. So thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to talk with me today.
Of course.
All right, let's get started. So when did you get interested in music, and how did that passion evolve into the desire of pursuing a career in the recording industry?
Yeah, I mean, music's always been a part of my life. My mom always used to tell me that I strung these like rubber bands out over my dresser when I was like 3 or 4 years old and was plucking them at different intervals and telling her to write down these songs that I was making up on these rubber bands. So I think music's always been there in my life. How it turned into a career, I mean, life. You go making left turns, right turns. You don't know where you end up. I found myself out here in LA for college, and fell in love with LA and the performing arts, and that's where I am now. I'm, a musician, a songwriter, vocalist, everything.
Awesome. So who are your musical influences, and how do they enhance your sound?
Well, I have been listening to a little bit of everything over the years. I grew up listening to classic rock, which is what my stepdad used to always listen to in the car, and my older brothers always definitely influenced me in their musical tastes. As I grew up, I think I sort of fixated on some more, anthemic singers like Freddie Mercury and Prince. So Queen and Prince are huge influences on me. The Beatles, obviously, they're sort of like the holy grail of music or modern pop music. But I listen to everything from, I don't know, Leon Bridges to, oh man, of course, right now you ask you to think of someone and you can't think of a single thing. I don't know, Weezer, Green Day, Ariana Grande, Beyonce, like the gamut. Yeah, I run the gamut when I listen to things, and try to bring a little bit of everything into my music. It's sort of, I'm sort of a jack of all trades in life, and I try to do that with my music as well, sort of lean into the different sides of myself, and because I think that, listeners have multitudes as well. So someone who listens to Taylor Swift, may also listen to Childish Gambino, and that doesn't mean that they're different people. That's just different sides of the same person.
I totally agree. Like, I know you mentioned Queen, so I just want to let you know, I did see them with Adam Lambert's
at
Barclays in pre-COVID times, and
yes,
it was phenomenal.
I met Adam back when he was auditioning for American Idol. So sweet guy, amazing vocalist, and the band speaks for itself.
I totally agree. So we'll talk about Idol, and I'm like, Adam's one of my dream interviews.
Well, if I could hook it up for you, I would, but but maybe awesome. maybe someday, Payson. But however, we got to get enough. Much as I love Adam, you're here as my guest, so we're all eyes are on you. Indeed. Let's get to it.
So you were part of the Socalz, so it's an acapella group called the Socalz, during the inaugural season of now defunct NBC series, The Sing Off. So what did it mean to be a part of the show's first season?
Well, it was really exciting. The Socalz was sort of a group that we put together for the show. It was a group of people who had sung in the same collegiate acapella group called the SoCal VoCals at USC. And we were asked to be on the show because we had just won this international championship of collegiate acapella, which is the competition that Pitch Perfect is based on. And it was really exciting. At the time, I was singing on a cruise ship. That was my first job out of college, and yeah, it was just exciting. They wanted us to be on the show. I flew back to LA. We rehearsed for like a week or two, and then the next week we were filming episodes. But it was a really great experience. It was my first experience being on, a major television set, and just kind of interacting with fans and I guess a bit of notoriety. The show only ran for a couple weeks that first season, so it was definitely in the Andy Warhol 15 minutes of fame category rather than a long-lasting catalog. Not too many Socalz fans still out there, but if you are, much love to the Socalz fans. Thanks for having our backs from the get-go. But it was an amazing experience. A lot of friends I still keep in contact with from that first season. Obviously, all the people in the Socalz, and also some that I met from the other groups.
And here's the thing. I gotta say, that show has brought a cappella music to the forefront. And also, not only that, but I think Pentatonics, Home Free, and Peter Hollins are the three major alums that broke out of it.
Well, so here's your small world story. Well, a couple. One, Pentatonics was also formed sort of out of a contingent of the SoCal VoCals, because Scott Hoying, the lead singer, was in the SoCal VoCals at USC. And their arranger and producer, Ben Bram, was also in the SoCal VoCals. And he sort of combined the group for that season. The even smaller world is I told you that I was working on a cruise ship singing before I was on the sing-off. On that cruise ship, there were 4 singers. I was one of them. This girl, Stacy, was one of them. And then the other 2 were Peter and Evan Hollins.
Wow. Peter's been on my platform before.
Amazing. Peter is the
Evan are so amazing.
Sweetest humans on the planet. I love the Hollinses very, very much. Dear friends of mine.
That's incredible. And Peter, Evan, if you're listening to this, we really thank you so much for all that you've done for acapella music, and thank you and also keep on being incredible people.
Heck yeah, we love you. Go Ducks.
It's amazing how much that community has grown. And do you think that acapella music, because of that success, has grown to a much appreciated music?
Sure. I think the combination of Pentatonics' rise and also the popularity of Pitch Perfect definitely raised the platform significantly. I haven't done very much a cappella singing since the sing-off, but I know the genre in general has been thriving pretty well.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned Adam Lambert before he was on Idol. Mm-hmm. So have you thought about going on shows? Because a lot of my podcast guests who've been on America's the Pantheon, like America's Got Talent, Idol, Songland, The Voice, X Factor USA. Have you thought about competing on those shows to expand your audience or fan base? Why or why not?
Well, you make it sound so easy, Jake. You got to get on those shows. I met Adam auditioning for American Idol, and he got on, and I didn't. So yes, of course, I've thought about being on those shows before. I tried back in the day to be on American Idol. Since then, I haven't really. I've sort of had a bit of a change of heart about the platform in general. Those shows, in my opinion, make music a competition, and I don't think that music is a competitive art. So I think it's sort of a weird platform to be picking who is the best at music when music is subjective, and so is The Voice. Obviously, the notoriety you get, the exposure is invaluable, and there's certainly value in that to the people that are on the shows. Just in general, it's not what I got into music to do, is to compete with other artists. So for me, I'm going to focus on creating music and sharing it with an audience that they can consume it as much as they want and appreciate it or not, however they choose.
I give you a lot of credit for doing that and for admitting that, because the thing is, it's easy to go on those shows. It's easy to produce it. But however, once you're done with those shows, you have a timeline. Yeah. Like, for example, especially The Voice is so fast, while other shows like Idol and Got Talent have more of a hourglass.
Sure. I mean, that you could look back at the Voice's history. They've almost never created a major star, to the levels that American Idol did in its heyday. And a big part of that is because by the time one season is over and someone wins, they don't have enough time to get a record out before the next season is up, and all the people who are watching The Voice are watching the next season, and they're already done with the last season. So with that in mind, I think some of the benefits of being on these shows is fleeting. And so for me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to sort of not sacrifice, but just sort of change the reason why I am trying to be a musician in the first place, just to gain a short amount of exposure.
I totally understand. So that being said, what are some of the challenges that you faced breaking into the music industry, and how did you overcome some of those obstacles?
Well, it's hard. It's hard, literally speaking about that and people's divided attention spans and how quickly these shows turn around. And, getting people to listen is hard these days. There are infinite amount of things that they could be listening to or watching or interacting with now with TikTok and Instagram and Spotify and all the different platforms. So for me, I've focused on what I love doing the most and what I think that I'm the best at. And for me, that's live performance. It's something that I think separates me from other artists, is that I have a presence on stage and an energy that I have worked hard over the years to hone. So that's been difficult with the pandemic, obviously. The venues are all closed and all that stuff. But the focus for me is on bringing my music into live settings where people can come in and hear it in the room, share that feeling that you get, that give and take between an audience and a performer, which for me is my favorite. My goal is just to put out a lot of music. I'm going to try and put out a song every month moving forward, different versions of them. And I just figure the more I give to my listeners and people who are trying to discover new music, the more likely they will be to discover me, and hopefully they find something they like. Because at the end of the day, art is more like an offering than a demand. I'm offering you my art, and I hope you like it.
I definitely like your art. I gotta say, have you thought, like, I've seen a lot of my friends, some of my friends, such as Brandon and James, they've actually had staged shows. Have you thought about having like stream concerts or anything?
The thought has crossed my mind, but again, for me, the point is to share the feeling in the room, and the connection that you get, seeing people's faces, seeing the way that your music is making them move and feel, and the connection, the rapt attention. And you can't really get that looking at a screen. For the past year, we've been doing this. We've been talking to friends over a screen through a camera with headphones and a microphone. And, at the end of the day, if someone was looking into my room right now and couldn't see what was on my screen, they would think I was just, talking to myself. There's no one else in this room right now. So for me, yes, I think the ingenuity behind getting these streaming platforms out is amazing. And I think it's a great way for people to stay in contact with their fans. Just for me, I'm working on saving some of my, ability and bandwidth for things once hopefully we're out of this pandemic.
Amen to that. So let's talk about your art. I selected 4 pieces for us to talk about. 4 songs.
Let's do it.
So
cool.
Let's start with Nothing to You. It's your as of this recording, it's your most streamed song on Spotify. Mm-hmm. So what's the story behind that song?
Well, that's a song that I wrote with my good friend Brooke Jenkins. It was actually the first song we ever wrote together. We met about 10 minutes before we started writing the song. And we're just talking about the feeling that you get when you're in a relationship and it ends, that like, we've been used up in this relationship to the point where you felt like you were just a prop, right? Like, just there for appearances and being taken for granted, and just sort of wasted away in a relationship, in an overbearing relationship. And so we sort of had this idea about breaking free, and you'd rather be nothing to this person that you once cared about than half of yourself. And sometimes when you break up in a relationship, it's really tough because you still have care, you still have feelings for the person that you're with. Maybe it's not love anymore, but there's still, affection. You don't want to just disappear completely from their lives. They held this special place for you. But when that comes at a cost of being yourself, you gotta hit the road, Jack. You gotta get out of it. You gotta save yourself. So that's what Nothing to You is about. I'd been in a sort of a relationship very similar to that, and I was trying to hold on to what pieces of myself were left before I was just nothing of myself.
I gotta talk to you about Sound of the Voice, because it's definitely a protest and anthemic song.
Mm-hmm. Sound of a Voice is a song I wrote last summer, in the days immediately following the murder of George Floyd. I was here in this very room. I was deeply moved and saddened and by the act that started the movement, and I was truly moved by the way that people rose up and used it as an opportunity for change. I was hearing helicopters flying overhead, protests all over the streets, and I realized in that moment that I realized that I hadn't done enough. I had always thought that just by not being a racist person, or at least not aggressively so one. I think we all have innate biases, which are societally based, but I hadn't done enough to sort of break down that societal construct. And I was feeling guilty about it, and I wanted to be better moving forward. So I decided to write this song to raise money for causes that were being active on the forefront of change, for racial justice and social change. So every single penny that I have ever made from that song, through streaming or through publishing, has gone directly to 9 different organizations that are on the forefront of making this a more just and equitable world for people of all races.
Good on you. Like I said, good on you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so let's talk about Bad Influence, because I've heard, when I read the title of the song, I'm like, did he cover Pink's Bad Influence?
No. It was not a cover. This was a song I wrote. Bad Influence is just a song about seeing someone who elicits a response in you that it can get you into a little trouble. But you just got to do it. It's like when you're out at a party and you're like, I don't know if I want to be here. And then you have one sip of your favorite drink, and then all of a sudden you're like, ooh, yeah, let's go. Let's party tonight. And Bad Influence was written about, a person that makes you do that makes you want to be a little crazy, makes you want to break a few rules, makes you want to get too drunk and too high and just have so much fun for the night, and sort of enjoy that bad influence that you have on each other. So it's a song about just, letting loose and having fun.
Alrighty, so let's talk about your latest single as of this recording, Only Yesterday.
Yes. Only Yesterday is a song that I wrote with my friend Tom Zamuda. And, it's a song about picking yourself up in the wake of great loss. So figured no better time than now to put this song out, as we have all been dealing with an immense amount of loss in the last year or so. The song is about how we're constantly reminded of this loss too. It's not, heartbreak is hard. It hurts. But what makes it so much worse is the reminders. So you could break up with me today. It's still going to hurt tomorrow because I may see something that reminds me of our time together. I'll pass a restaurant where we used to eat, or I hear a song on the radio that reminds me of that heartbreak. So you're constantly reminded. You're living on these paths and these lines that you have been living your whole life with this person or with this thing, and you're just hurting. And the only way to really get over that is to start yourself over. You tell yourself, you look yourself in the mirror and say, I got to get out of this line of thinking. I need to break out of these chains and get back out there, I suppose. The song isn't just about a relationship. It can be about this pandemic. We lost our lives. We lost our jobs. We lost our communities. We lost our social interactions. So many of the things can be reminded. I drive past a little breakfast spot all the time, which is where I used to meet up with friends and have a cup of coffee and a nice leisurely brunch. And every time I see it, it hurts because I'm reminded that I can't be there. I could sit and wallow in that sadness all day, but it wouldn't get me anywhere. And so in order to survive, we have to figure out new ways to do it. So in this pandemic, we've all figured out new pathways to get by.
Totally agree with you on that. So let's talk about who's on your wish list of collaborators, singers, songwriters, and producers, and how would they enhance your sound?
Well, I certainly have a wish list of sort of legends. Obviously, for me, Paul McCartney is probably number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all, down to 100. Paul's my number one guy. Although I think if I ever actually had the opportunity to collaborate with him, I'd just completely, I wouldn't know what to do. It'd be almost worthless. And sort of along the same path, I'm a huge Max Martin fan. So I'm usually drawn to songwriters and producers. I'm a big Ryan Tedder fan. Usually a lot of songwriters. Trent Reznor would be super cool. A lot of the legends, James Taylor, the now defunct Daft Punk would have been sweet to get in a session with.
Still one of my all-time favorite songs.
Yeah, one of the best. The list is so long. Right here, you can. I don't know if you can see it. It's just all my records.
Wow, that's a lot
right here. I got a few. I need to branch out a little bit more, but I've been lucky to work with some people in my career that have been on that list. I got to work with Glen Ballard, who wrote Man in the Mirror and produced Alanis Morissette's record. And that was pretty near the top of my list. I got to meet and work with Robert Zemeckis a little bit and Bob Gale, who wrote Back to the Future. This was all on one project, which was really cool. In my career, I've been lucky enough to cross paths with some pretty amazing people. And I'm happy to work with any and all of them moving forward. So
here's a little interesting twist. You mentioned Glen Ballard. I actually corresponded and exchanged emails and questions with Sadia Garrett.
Oh, wow. There you go.
This was back in 2017. So I just wanted to pop in because we both have we now complete Man in the Mirror.
That's right. We got the full circle there.
Absolutely. And also Max Martin, I told this to Desmond Child when I spoke with him. There are 3 big singer-songwriters that are non-musicians that I love, whose music's in my iPod that dominates it. It's Max Martin, Desmond Child, and then the one and only Diane Warren.
Of course, Diane Warren. I mean, that's like the Mount Rushmore of people that, for lay listeners may not realize that so much of their musical palette has been shaped by these people. Max Martin has been pumping out #1 hits for 30 years. It's crazy. Watching the Super Bowl show, two of the Weeknd's songs that he performed at the Super Bowl were Max Martin songs. Dating back to the early days of Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and all that stuff. So
not to mention Beyonce, that's the way it is.
That's right.
Max, my life.
See, this is a man who knows and appreciates the Swede, the great Swede, Max Martin.
It'd be for me if I either was in a room with Sir Elton John or Max Martin. I think I would lose, I would think I would lose it.
Yeah, that would be a brain exploding moment for sure.
And not to mention Bernie Taupin. I can't remember. And every time I bring up Sir Elton John, I have to bring up Bernie Taupin.
Of course, you have to. Bernie's an inseparable part of the team there.
Alrighty, let's start winding down this conversation. Let's talk about social media. So what are your favorite social media platforms? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube?
Oof. I mean, talk about love-hate relationship with social media. I'm terribly, terribly addicted to scrolling through mine, and I really don't enjoy the runaround of having to create content for it. So it's definitely a love-hate relationship. If I had to pick a favorite, it would be Instagram. I guess I'm just most comfortable with it. I have been dipping my toes into TikTok and having some fun on there recently too, though. So we'll see. I don't know. I think social media has a lot of good and a lot of bad influence on our lives, myself included. So I don't know if I could say a favorite or a least favorite, but yeah, I guess we'll go with Instagram. We'll ride with that for now.
All right. So if you had the opportunity to meet with recording artists who want to take their careers in the music industry to the next level, what advice would you share with them?
I would just tell that person to really think about why they're doing it, and focus on that reason moving forward, and be honest with themselves. I've had a couple different reckonings in my own career of sort of, you keep doing something and it logically takes you to this next step, into this next step, into this next step, and then all of a sudden you kind of look around at where you are and you realize that you're doing things that aren't exactly why you got into it in the first place. Some of the rules of the game or whatever, like the things you have to do to get ahead and move your career forward, are not the things that are about making the art in the first place. So that's for me. That's what has helped keep me on track, and keep me grounded and keep me in touch with who I am as an artist and what I want to do. And it's, bled into my music that way. I feel like the best stuff that I've written are things that are true to myself, as opposed to like, I want to write this kind of song for this kind of thing so that I can get here and have this person listen to it. I think just having an honest conversation with yourself about what your goals are, what your loves are, and why you're doing it. Because if you can stay in touch with all 3 of those things, you're going to be fine and you're going to be successful because you'll be happy.
I totally agree. Now, first of all, where can my audience connect with you on social media? And more importantly, where can I find your music?
They can connect with me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. I'm at Payson Lewis, PAYSONLEWIS. I'm on TikTok at Payson Lewis. That's pretty much my handle across the board. You can find me on YouTube. My music is streaming on SoundCloud, on Spotify, on Apple Music, on Amazon. If you can stream music on it, you can find me on it. That is sort of how it goes. Just type in my name, Payson Lewis, or any one of the songs you mentioned, Nothing to You, Sound of a Voice, Bad Influence, Only Yesterday. Lots of new stuff coming out. So please follow, subscribe, click the link below, all that stuff. We all know the name of the game by this point. So just appreciate you guys listening and hope you enjoy the music.
Alrighty, guys. To download more episodes of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast, head to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Spreaker. Just type in Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. We have a lot of incredible guests on there, and Payson's one of them, so please go and listen. Also, are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Head to my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube page. Just Jacob Elyachar, simple as that, JACOBELYACHAR. Now, the blog that started all, Jake's Take, is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year.
10 years, people. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And you could actually read all my conversations I had with Peter Hollins, my 2017 interview with Saidia Garrett. They're all in my review of one of Payson's songs on jakes-take.com. So it's all there for you guys, and I would really appreciate it if you guys go visit it. Payson, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to talk with me today. I really appreciate it.
Jake, you're the man. This has been so fun. Thank you for spreading the good word about music and art and the people that make it. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, have a great one, everybody.
Have a great one, everyone.